During the 1830s, Brooklyn was filled with lots of beautiful farmland, rolling hills, meadows, and streams. Most folks were farmers. The intention with Weeksville was to create a land-owning community whereby African men from all over the country could come here to be able to vote. The Freedman's Torchlight was a teaching tool to help newly freed Africans learn how to read and write. They found all kinds of objects, boots, irons, pottery, spoons. They found an actual picture of a woman who lived here, and we call her the Weeksville Lady. She became the symbol of Weeksville. Today, as Brooklyn is changing once again, you have to educate the community about why this place is important and encourage them to keep fighting for it.
20 miles east of Greeley, the heart of northern Colorado.
It's out in the country pretty much.
So quiet, you'd think the melting snow was a rainstorm.
This is Deerfield.
Don't drive too fast because you might just miss your turn. They call it a ghost town now. But don't let the overgrown grass and broken barns fool you. This is the site of history.
This was a black community that was started in 1910.
A man by the name of O.T. Jackson started Deerfield. His idea was simple: give African Americans a place to succeed, a place they could call their own, have jobs, own land, make money, at a time when most places wouldn't even let black folks in.
And there were many African Americans who came out here to the Denver area, and they wanted to own their own, and this was an opportunity.
That's Dr. George June. He's a professor at the University of Northern Colorado. He studies the history of Deerfield and says O.T. Jackson's plan actually worked.
Everybody knew about Deerfield.
Now, use your imagination for a bit. This crumbling wood, remnants from the town's lunch cafe. The boarded-up building was left behind of the town's gas station. Inside a stamp of O.T. Jackson's name, proof this is an original Deerfield structure.
That little building over there, that's the blacksmith shop.
Hundreds of people, mostly black, in the early 1900s lived on this very land.
This is downtown.
The building behind Dr. June there doubled as O.T. Jackson's house and a hotel. You have done some extensive work out here.
Yes.
The reason we're even able to point all the buildings out to you.
We've done a number of small excavations around the town site.
In large part because of the archaeology work of Dr. Bob Brunswig, also a UNC professor.
There are a lot of questions, a lot of mystery about what happened out here.
Dr. Brunswig and so many others found that Deerfield was a short-lived dream, up and running for about 20 years until the Dust Bowl came through, early 1930s.
Everything just dried up and blew away.
The physical foundations here may be wobbly. The people are all gone, and yeah, you can call it a ghost town, but the story of Deerfield, Colorado will always remain.
August 11, 1901, Blackdom, New Mexico was founded. This was one of many black settlements formed in 19th century Reconstruction-era America, sometimes referred to as a freedom colony. It was in Chaves County, New Mexico. The Blackdom site is located 8 miles west of Dexter and 18 miles south of Roswell. Founded by Frank and Ella Boyer under the requirements of the Homestead Act, the town experienced significant growth in the first decades, with settlers throughout the United States moving to the community. Boyer's father served with the Army during the Mexican-American War. He was raised hearing stories from his father Henry about New Mexico, when his life was threatened by the Triple K. His father had encouraged him to move to the west for his safety. In 1896, young Boyer traveled to New Mexico on foot picking up day labor work along the way, and Ella and their 4 children followed in 1901. Boyer's idea was to establish a self-sustaining community that would be free from the Jim Crow South. He advertised in several newspapers for black homesteaders to join the community, and by 1908, the community had 25 families with about 300 people, and several businesses, including a blacksmith shop, a hotel, a weekly newspaper, and a Baptist church, on 15,000 acres of land. The community was the first solely African-American community in the New Mexico territory. The year 1916 saw worms infest many of the crops, alkali buildup in the soil, and the sudden depletion of the natural wells of the Artesia aquifer that had provided most of the water for the farms. A drought followed and caused many of the settlers to relocate. In 1921, the Boyers' house was foreclosed upon, and the family relocated. Blackdom is now considered a ghost town. No structures are remaining, except for the barely visible concrete foundation of the schoolhouse. October 26, 2002, was proclaimed Blackdom Day by the governor of New Mexico, and a historical marker was erected at a rest stop on Highway 285, between Roswell and Artesia.
Dave Rochelle, Allensworth is a rare piece of Black American history dating back to 1908. It was the only township built and run by African Americans to ever exist in California. Over 100 years later, it's a destination for over 15,000 visitors a year. Now, there aren't enough docents to keep up with all of them.
From 1908 to 1918, nearly 300 African Americans came to live here in the town of Allensworth.
It was founded, financed, and governed by blacks.
Emmett Hardin has been an Allensworth docent for over 20 years. His father-in-law was the person who spearheaded the plan to turn it into a state park.
I got involved because I would like to be in a position to be able to tell our history from our perspective, the right of self-representation.
He volunteers to guide tours for free throughout the year.
In the state park system, you don't have enough black people.
Most of them that are rangers, law enforcement rangers.
Steve Tomey is one of 2 full-time state park interpreters at Allensworth. They're in charge of park education. Both are white.
I would like to see more African-American interpreters. So this is the window that I was just sitting under.
Sasha Bisco is president of the Friends of Allensworth, a volunteer unit that supports the park.
I think you tell it differently when you are African-American because it affects you differently.
She says Allensworth doesn't have enough docents, period. And because of that, they can't open all 22 buildings in the park.
We have children coming in from Oakland, Long Beach, from all over. And to not have all of the buildings open for them to see is really sad.
So she's trying new advertising strategies to recruit volunteers to teach the next generation what this place is worth.
The park is open daily, February through June. Admission's just $6. Reporting in studio, Emma Goss, Eyewitness News.